What is going on, everybody? Another Monday, another live stream. Kid Bamboo, what's going on? Thanks for coming in. Should be a fun show since we did all the mock drafts over the last 4 weeks since we started this. It should be fun to see where they ended up and where the players ended up. We're going to go over the NFL mock that we've been doing. We're going to go over the results of the NFL draft, who got the best picks of the first round, and then we're going to do a little bit of Knicks content towards the end of the video because the Knicks have a huge game 5 coming up tomorrow night against the Hawks at Madison Square Garden. So we're going to discuss that for a little bit. Let people come in, let people join the chat. Excuse me. My arms are so short. No, they're really long. Knickerbocker Avenue, what's going on, man? Thanks for popping in. Chewy, my 49ers draft confused me. Yeah, we're gonna get to well, I don't think they had a pick till the second round, so we'll get to who they picked in the second round. It was a really exciting draft though. We saw a few surprises early on that we had not predicted, including the Giant pick, including the Carnell Tate pick. So we'll get into that after a couple of minutes of just seeing when people come on. Definitely want to get into some Knicks stuff too because the Knicks showed a lot of promise in Game 4 against the Hawks. So I want to talk a little bit about how I think that the way that Karl-Anthony Towns looked and played will give the Knicks the upper hand over the next 2 games. Hopefully they end it in 6. I had them ending it in 5, so hopefully the Knicks don't really play around with their food and they just end the series in 6 games. Oh yeah, the 49ers did have a first round and they did trade out of it. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with the Brandon Ayuk situation either, so that's going to be pretty dope. I mean, it's going to be pretty sick trying to figure out what the hell they do with Brandon Ayuk after paying him. Hector says Shane firing watch. I just put out a video on my channel if you guys are not aware. Pudgy Boys Sports Talk with a Z, obviously, not an S, as I try to emphasize every single time. I'm pretty much stuck with the Z now for as long as I do this, but I just put a video out on the whole Joe Shane, the Pat Leonard thing. We can get into that for a couple minutes. If you guys want to talk about that. Predictions for Game 5. I do have the Knicks winning Game 5 tomorrow night at the Garden. I'm hoping that they run the offense the way that they did. I'm hoping they run the offense the way that they did in Game 4. They seem to have cleaned a lot of things up in Game 4. So I'm hoping that they take Game 4 strategy and move forward throughout the process and then hopefully into the next round. Yeah, everybody wants Game 7s are really unpredictable as well, so the NBA would love every series to go to a Game 7. Hope everybody's having a good night tonight. They limited the turnovers. Yeah, especially in the first half. The second half they limited a lot of the turnovers. Let's start the stream with the Knicks actually. So we'll do the Knicks and then we'll do the draft recap towards the end because we've been pounding a lot of draft content every Monday on the channel on these live streams. So the collaboration with Collecting and Connecting, Paulie and the people over there and the guys that do a great job with the channel. The stream itself is sponsored by NBA Top Shot. There is an actual giveaway tonight, a Mikal Bridges Christmas Day giveaway tonight that will be in the Discord. If you guys are a part of the Discord with Collecting and Connecting, there is the link in there that you guys can enter. First, that was probably the best Mikal Bridges giveaway that we've ever seen. I mean, the best Mikal Bridges Knicks game we've ever seen, including the game-winning shot against Portland. But there was some pretty good drops, pretty dope drops. You had the Bronny James drop for the alley-oop, where LeBron was sent him an alley-oop. So again, NBA Top Shot for sponsoring this. Great job by them. I mean, again, digital currency and digital collecting is where the sports world and where the Pokemon world, where every world is going now. It's becoming digital. All right. The physical copies of cards still hold a lot of value, but you look down the road and the people that had the foresight to see this kind of stuff, this is the exact way that it's going to go, and you're going to probably eventually have more value in this kind of stuff down the line. So you want to, and it's pretty cool that you get these highlights from any kind of these plays. Even this one is the Io Dosun. I always get his name wrong. Dosunmu, his game against his 43 points that he scored against the Nuggets in Game 4, and he gave the Timberwolves a 3-1 lead. Nuggets are a little bit in trouble there, so hopefully they could bounce back. I really had the Nuggets going deep into the postseason, so that would kind of suck if they don't make it. Yeah, so thank you to NBA Top Shot for sponsoring the stream. Let's just get into more comments. Top Shot, Paulie, what's up, man? Lendog's in the chat. I don't know if anybody, I don't know who wants the LeBron James alley-oop, but I would assume some people might want it. Maybe LeBron James's wife and his family probably want to keep that kind of stuff. Draft videos are amazing. Thanks for the analysis. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for all that. Yeah, so we'll get a little bit into the Knicks to start it off, right? Game 4 was absolutely spectacular. The Knicks dropped the hammer on them immediately from the start, right? You saw that everything was running through Karl Anthony Towns early on in the game, and he was looking for guys early on. You saw the assist numbers going up and up and up through the first and second quarter to the point where you thought that Karl Anthony Towns, it was possible for him to have a triple-double in the game, which he did wind up with. So that was a great job by Karl Anthony Towns and a great adjustment by Coach Brown to make sure that we pressed them from the backcourt. So we used Alvarado, we used Bridges, we used Josh Hart to chase guys from the backcourt all the way up to the front court. Guys like McCollum, you don't want to keep him comfortable, right? CJ McCollum in this series has been extremely comfortable. Extremely comfortable. We made him a little bit uncomfortable in Game 4, and that's the recipe that the Knicks are going to have to go with in Games 5 and Game 6. The same exact recipe, right? Because the Knicks didn't shoot great from 3, but they shot well enough to beat the Hawks, and the Hawks just couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat in Game 4, which obviously does help the Knicks in a way because the Hawks were hitting every single shot imaginable in Games 2 and 3, especially Games 2 and 3. So run it through Karl Anthony Towns. Let him be the guy, at least in this series alone, because there's nobody on the court that could guard Karl Anthony Towns. There's nobody on the Hawks that matches his size, matches his strength. They cannot guard him in this series. Against the Celtics, it'll change. Against the Pistons, it'll change. Against the Magic, it will change. But this specific series, like I said, nobody could guard Karl Anthony Towns. And the Knicks hopefully have woken up and the coaching staff has seen that that's the case, right? Brunson had a decent game, but the major props in this series are going to OG Anunoby. They're going to Karl Anthony Towns. They're going to Josh Hart because those three guys have carried the Knicks to a 2-2 tie, which easily could have been a sweep if the Knicks were just smart enough to win games, not blow a 20-point lead in Game 2, and then obviously coming back from 20 down in Game 3 or coming back from 18 down in Game 3, if they just cleaned up a few things down the stretch, this could have easily been a sweep, and it's very frustrating because you look at, it's frustrating, but it's not because you look at a lot of these other series, and maybe besides Boston and the Thunder, a lot of teams are struggling with the lower seeds. You look at the Magic and the Pistons. The Magic are looking to go up 3-1. And if you look at the Raptors and the Cavaliers, that series is tied up at 2. But the 4-5 matchup is always so tricky. So you never know who's going to win. Seems like every home team is going to win in that series. But Knicks had to clean it up. I love what I saw in the second half, especially from the Knicks when they didn't turn the ball over a lot. They had 10 turnovers in the first half, but thankfully the Hawks had 12. Josh Hart played out of his mind. Josh Hart legitimately said to his teammates, he didn't say this, I'm just saying in his head maybe, that Josh Hart said, I'm going to put the team on my back tonight. We're not losing Game 4 no matter what happens. And Josh Hart, bloodied lip, steals galore. Josh Hart was doing everything he possibly can to make sure the Knicks built a double-digit lead and did not give it back up. And you saw at the start of the third quarter, the Knicks are notorious for slow starts in the first quarter and the third quarter every single time. Even under Thibodeau, it was the same thing. They would start slow in the first quarter, start slow in the third quarter. They started slow here in the third quarter. The Hawks hit a couple back-to-back threes, cut the lead to about 8. Then the Hawks got a steal, and then they hit another bucket, cut the lead to 6. And then you saw big-time buckets from OG Anunoby. You saw big-time buckets from Brunson early on that gave the Knicks the cushion until Brunson twisted his ankle. At that point, when Brunson twisted his ankle, I kind of thought the Hawks would get back into the game, but they didn't. The Knicks continued to run the offense through Karl Anthony Towns, and it gave the Knicks the lead that they needed to continue to keep, and they just completely flattened the Hawks. They completely flattened them to the point where the Hawks were saying in the post game, which was really telling to me, when your team comes out in the post game and your players are saying, I think it was Alexander, he said in the post game, if you would have told us before the series started that we'd be 2-2 going back to the Garden, that if that quote doesn't show you that they are mentally weak, right? They had a chance to go up 3-1 on the higher seed in New York Knicks, the better, the more superior New York Knicks team, and you're happy going back to the Garden 2-2? No, that doesn't fly with me. This is the time that the Knicks need to strike. The Hawks seem mentally weak right now. This is the time the Knicks need to pounce and go up big time in Game 5 and just completely crush their souls in Game 5 to the point where they can't even bounce back in Game 6. Where like if you crush them in Game 5 and then you go to Game 6 and the Knicks start going up like they did in Game 4, you'll crush them immediately, and the Knicks could walk out of this in 6 games in a relatively hard-fought series. So hopefully that's the case. Hopefully I'm telling the future, because that would be amazing if the Knicks could get out of this in 6. I don't want to see it go 7, because Game 7s are really, really unpredictable. It doesn't matter where they're played, home or away. It doesn't matter which team you are. Game 7s are too unpredictable. The lights get brighter. And yes, we do have Brunson. We do have Cat. We do have OG. We have Hart. We got all those guys. But the Hawks are young. They're dangerous. They are not used to this kind of spotlight, so they have nothing to lose. So if you get to a Game 7, they're going to be a lot more freelance than the New York Knicks would be. The Knicks could possibly get tight. You don't want to lose in the first round after firing your head coach that a lot of the players came out and said they didn't want anymore. So you got to be careful with that. You got to be careful getting to a Game 7. Chewy says, I'm rooting for Brown because the Kings did him wrong. Yeah, you look at a guy like Mike Brown, and he does get a lot of heat. And, you know, for some instances, it's warranted. But Mike Brown's a hell of a coach, man. He's just a good coach. He took the Kings to the playoffs for the first time in 14 years? And then he gets off to a little bit of a slow start in Sacramento, and that's it. They cut him. That's it. They're gone. He's a good coach. Mike Brown's a good coach, and they made the necessary adjustments in Game 4, so hopefully those carry over. Knicks left youth, their roster is all recycled from other teams. Yeah, you know what it is? Muffin? Like, there is only, 2 players that get significant time on the Knicks that they actually drafted and developed, which is Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson. Other than that, yeah, Brunson was traded for. Brunson was a free agent. Josh Hart was a trade. Karl Anthony Towns was a trade. OG Anunoby was a trade. But we got all those players, to be fair to the Knicks front office. Bridges was a trade. We got all of those players because of other players that we did develop, even though they weren't going to be good enough to win a championship. We had to develop RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly in order to get OG Anunoby. We had to develop, we had to let Julius Randle take his game to another level and Dante DiVincenzo to take his game to another level in order to make the trades for Karl Anthony Towns. You know, like, we were not getting any of these guys without either taking other players to another level or developing our own young talent. So we had to have some sort of give there. So you got to give the Knicks front office a little credit for that. The only thing I do not give the Knicks credit for in the front office is the Mikal Bridges trade, which right now is TBD, right? You have to wait for all those draft picks to come about, which is not going to end until like 2031. So the Nets are already scouting players that are in like the 5th grade now for their last draft pick. But if the Knicks wind up not winning a championship, then I would say, yes, okay, maybe that trade didn't work out. Yeah, I can't handle a Game 7 either. There's absolutely no way. There's no way. Game 7, especially in the first round, scare the hell out of me. I can't do it. Yeah, Knickerbocker. Put DiVincenzo, shout out to hopefully a speedy recovery for Dante. You saw the look in his face when he got hurt. That really sucked to see, man. That was terrible to watch because Dante was a fan favorite. And if you ask a lot of Knick fans right now if they would have Mikal or Dante, I think a lot of them would take DiVincenzo, honestly. But, you know, shout out to him. Hopefully he recovers really quickly. We're praying for him. So hopefully DiVincenzo, who's, I don't know if he's a free agent after this year or next year. That would be a nice piece to hopefully try and get back if you're the Knicks. So we have other games going on tonight. You guys hear how fast I type? I'm like a wizard on these keyboards. I learned how to type in the I took a typewriting class in high school, and it's all coming to help me out now with my speed ability. Yeah, so as of right now, the Pistons are down. Oh, geez. The Magic are up. The second quarter just started. The Magic are up 28-27 on the Pistons. So, I mean, you talk about, could you imagine all the screaming that I did all season long about the Pistons and how they just whipped the Knicks? And if the Pistons somehow get knocked out in the first round, I don't think I could ever, personally, I know a lot of people don't do it now. I don't know how I could take the regular season seriously anymore if the Pistons wind up getting knocked out by the Magic. And it's no slight against the Magic, because they're a really tough team. They're a very good coach team. They're like a piece away probably from being a championship team. They are tough. They are the most consistent, and they give the Knicks hell when they play them. So I'm not saying anything bad about the Magic. It's not a slight against the Magic. It's just, if the Pistons, after a 60-win season and me panicking all year long about how we can't match up with the Pistons, how we went 12 quarters against the Pistons this year and we didn't win one of those quarters, if they just wind up getting eliminated by the Magic, I don't know how anybody could just take the regular season seriously anymore at that point. You can't argue it anymore. Yes, I was the Wizard of Oz. Also, my favorite movie, Paul. By the way, just a fun fact about me: my favorite movie is The Wizard of Oz. Just so we're all on. See how everything came full circle just tonight, which is awesome. Yeah, the Thunder. Every team seems like it's going to be in a dogfight, except for the Oklahoma City Thunder. They lose Jalen Williams. It's all right. It's all right. We just lose one of our best players. It doesn't matter. We're going to sweep the Suns anyway. The next round, they're going to win probably in 5, maybe 6 games. They'll get to the Western Conference Finals. They'll get Jalen Williams back, and everything will be fine. Everything will be fine for the Thunder, because who's beating them? It's the sad part. Who's beating the Thunder? I'd love to see the Knicks attempt to. I think it would be a fun 7-game series. I think the NBA would cream in their pants if they had the New York Knicks in the finals for the first time since the year 2000, when I was 10 years old. 10 years old. If they had the Knicks in the finals against the potential future dynasty of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Knicks trying to stop it. I think the NBA would absolutely love that. NBA would love that. Vegas for the Wizard of Oz movie. Oh, in the Sphere, right? Oh my God, I would love to see that. We're definitely not 21 anymore. Me at the ripe, supple age. Me at the ripe, supple age. No, whatever it is. Me at the age of 36 years old now. I feel it in my bones, and I feel every time I get up in the morning how old I am now. But yeah, I mean, if the Magic, that would be a crazy upset. Thunder are going to sweep tonight. I completely predict. And then you got the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. So can the Timberwolves knock that? I didn't see if there was any. Do you guys know if there was any suspensions in the Thunder? I'm sorry, in the Nuggets Timberwolves series? Because I know that the NBA was investigating that. I don't think that they would suspend Jokic. I don't think they have the balls to do that, or suspend anybody on the Timberwolves at this point. But barring nobody is suspended, I think the Nuggets probably extend that series to Game 6 at least. So I think they'll be okay there with that. That's a series I could see going 7, because the Nuggets are very battle tested, championship pedigree. I think that they could get back into that series. I don't know the status of Anthony Edwards as well. That knee injury was really scary. Maybe it just bent the wrong way. Thankfully, it wasn't anything too crazy. So yeah, the Knicks, they got to win. Can't go out in the first round to the Hawks. Cannot go out in the first round to the Hawks. The Hawks are fun. They're a fun story. They went up 2-1. Now, what I don't want to see is the Knicks revert back because you know the Hawks are going to try and make adjustments. They're a well-coached team as well. I don't want to see the Knicks revert back to what they looked like when they're completely out of sync. Stick with what worked in game 4 and times that by 10. There's no reason to get away from what you should have been doing from the start of the series. There's no way. You shouldn't go back to anything that doesn't work. Run the offense through Cat. Bone bruise, yeah, those could be tricky. Bone bruise. I never had one. Even in my most athletic of days, I never had a bone bruise, but I could imagine trying to recover from something like that is, especially in a impact sport like when you're running constantly on your knees like these guys are. Thankfully, that's another thing. Thankfully, I don't want to put this into the universe, but thankfully the Knicks have been relatively healthy throughout this postseason. I know we had the early scare in game 1 with OG, and then we had the scare in game 4 with the captain. So hopefully the Knicks can continue. Hopefully the Knicks can continue to stay healthy and get to the next round. But Embiid came back yesterday for the Sixers, and you would think that they were going to have a little bit of a spark. It went the complete opposite way. They lost by like 25. So I think the Celtics, after losing game 2 to the Sixers, said, all right, that's enough. Everybody calm down. We're the Celtics. We're not going to sit here and play around with the Sixers, and we're not going to mess around. They're looking like they're going to end them in 5 games, which they probably should, because the Sixers are flawed. They're a little bit older. They're very injury prone. They got the kid VJ Edgecombe is looks like a stud early on, but Paul George should not be scaring anybody at this point. Tyrese Maxey is a hell of a player. And Embiid at this point, I don't know what to expect out of Joel Embiid, because he just can't consistently stay on the court enough for them to win a championship. The whole trust the process thing, it worked for a couple of years, but after the fact that they didn't get those titles 4 or 5 years ago, Embiid's starting to give out, his body's starting to give away, and it sucks because he's a super talented player. Super talented player. Oh, Paul said, comment in the YouTube live stream your favorite movie before 1990 to win a DeMar DeRozan explosion moment on NBA Top Shots. So let me see. Before 1990, I was 1 year old in 1990. You know, it's a great movie from the 90s or the mid 80s. I forgot what it was. Short Circuit with Johnny Number 5 and Steve Guttenberg. I think that was number 2. That was a pretty good movie. Dope movie, actually. One of those cult classics now. If you're unaware of Short Circuit, it's pretty trippy. It's very trippy. So I see, what do I see? Cool Hand Luke, Star Wars, Mary Poppins, Alien. Alien's dope. Alien's really, it would creep me out the first time I ever watched it. So that's a creepy one. Batteries not included. Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. These kids today, they don't get it. These kids. I was told when I was younger, don't try and grow up so fast. And yet I did it, and now I regret it. So we can't turn back the clock, unfortunately, but we have to live in the moment. All right, so if you guys have been following, so that's the New York Knicks stuff. I think they're going to win tomorrow night. I really hope they're going to win tomorrow night, get the 3-2 lead, and then hopefully close them out in 6. But we take it one game at a time. Knicks have to win tomorrow night. Got to protect home court and get home court advantage back, which they do have now, because it's essentially a 3-game series with the 2 home games at MSG. You have game 7 in your back pocket just in case, but you cannot look at it like that. I'm sure these guys aren't looking at it like that either. They don't want to take the Hawks to a game 7 because, again, like I said, game 7s are too tricky. They're too unpredictable. You don't want to have to go that route. So if you guys have been following the channel for the last 4 Mondays that we've been doing this, we've been doing the mocks every single week. So every Monday that we've been doing these mocks, I've tried to give a different one each time, and it's crazy because none of the ones I did came out to be true, except for a few picks. That's why the mock drafts are really weird. They're odd because you never know what the hell's going to happen in the NFL draft. So I want to get into some of the picks that I really, really liked in the first round, and then we'll end the stream after we go over some of those. So if you guys are a fan of any of the teams, if you guys are a football team, fans of any team in the NFL, give me the grade of your favorite team's draft picks in the first round. If you guys enjoyed it, if you guys liked it, if you wanted somebody else, just let me know. So when we look at these guys, Mendoza went first. We don't have to waste any time on that. That was a foregone conclusion. What's very obnoxious about ESPN now is we know Mendoza's going first, but we still had to wait like 15 minutes for the pick to come. And the first thing that we did have in one of our mocks was David Bailey going to the Jets. We had Arvell Reese at this point in 3 out of the 4 mocks, but I did not think Arvell Reese would fall to where he fell. We'll get to him in a couple of minutes. But David Bailey at 22 years old is an established, really good edge rusher. The Jets wanted to get the more polished guy in David Bailey over the upside of Arvell Reese. I think the upside of Arvell Reese is a lot better than David Bailey's is going to be, but they took the sure edge rushing right away, plug and play guy that they could stick the hand in the dirt and go to the quarterback. That's what David Bailey is. He's a speed guy. He's powerful, good hands, good bend off the edge, and David Bailey is going to be a really good piece for them. They took the chance on him. So I don't mind the pick at all. I think it's perfectly fine. It's going to be a David Bailey versus Arvell Reese debate for probably the next 5 years at this point. So number 3 is where all the fun started because we heard the rumors of Jeremiah Love coming to the Giants, the Titans. None of that came to fruition because as of 24 hours or 48 hours before the draft, you started to hear little rumblings about Jeremiah Love going to the Arizona Cardinals. Nobody knew what the Arizona Cardinals were going to do. There was no quarterback to take here because it was way too early for Ty Simpson. Fast forward, the Rams take him at 13, which was a little surprising. We should get to that one in a few minutes. But Jeremiah Love is a great player, great prospect, could do everything from the running back position. From the drop from Jeremiah Love to the next running back it was a real major drop. So if you were going to take the good player, you take him. You don't hesitate. I know people have positional value, and I completely understand. You don't take a tight end this high. You don't take a running back this high. You don't take a safety this high. But when you run into somebody like a Jeremiah Love or a Caleb Downs or Kyle Pitts a couple of years ago, you take the best player that's on your board. All right, you don't hesitate. A team that's drafting in the top 5, like the Raiders, like the Jets, like the Cardinals, like the Titans, like the Giants, not the Chiefs so much, but like Washington, the Saints, when you're drafting this high, your team has so many holes and so many needs. Take the best player. Take the best player and worry about it later. That's what the Cardinals did here, and I love the pick for them. I know it's a little early for the running back, but they got a tremendous player. Carnell Tate was probably the first surprise off the board with Robert Saleh being the head coach there. This one looks like it had Brian Dable's hands written all over this with Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate, the safest wide receiver in this class. I don't think he's the best one, but I think he's the safest wide receiver. Jordan Tyson, who the Saints took at 8, I think is the best prospect, the number one, the most elite skill set and tools to be a wide receiver 1 in this league. Carnell Tate could get there, but I think he's going to be one of the safer picks, right? Think Devontae Smith with the Eagles. Think that he's going to just give you the consistency that a Devontae Smith gives you. But I think that's what Carnell Tate will do. Cam Ward needed help. Cam Ward needed weapons, and that's exactly what they did here with Carnell Tate. Now, this one to me, and it's going to sound so homerish, and it's going to sound crazy, but this is probably the best pick in the entire first round. If you haven't noticed, I'm wearing a Giants hat. Why I say it's the best pick in the first round, and if you heard me for the last 4 weeks, you would know this guy right here, Caleb Downs, that went to Dallas, was my favorite player in the class. He was the number 1 player that I watched on film for the last 2 years in this 2026 class. I love Caleb Downs as a prospect. I love him as a player, and I think he's going to be an absolute steal dropping down to 11. Why the Arvell Reese pick is probably the best pick in the first round is Arvell Reese has potential. He's already at 20 years old. He'll be 21, I think, in August or September. At 20 years old, the tools that Arvell Reese already possesses, the elite skills that Arvell Reese already possesses as an off-ball linebacker. He's a hard hitter. He's going to pop the ball out, force fumbles. He has the elite skills to be an off-ball linebacker and a complete edge rusher. The Giants seem like they're going to, I think John Harbaugh already said they're going to line him up next to Tremaine Edmonds, who's going to be the Mike of the team. And then you have Arvell Reese, who's just going to be able to be the off-ball linebacker and just do his thing. And I think he's going to be an absolutely Pro Bowl level, all pro level player. And the fact that he fell to 5 was astounding because I actually had the Jets taking him at 2. And then if the Jets didn't take him, I had the Cardinals taking him at 3. And if they didn't take him, the Tennessee Titans should have taken him at 4. If he went 2. If Reese went 2. If Reese didn't go 2, I'm shocked these two teams didn't take him. So Arvell Reese going 5 to the Giants. You saw how quickly John Harbaugh and the Giants had the card right away. The Carnell Tate pick was done, and then within 2 seconds, the Giant pick was in. So they were probably stunned that Arvell Reese was there at 5. Then a guy that we had for the last 4 weeks, Mansour Delane going to the Chiefs. This was a major need for the Chiefs. They traded up from 9 with the Browns to move up 3 spots to pick number 6. They wanted to make sure they got the top cover corner in the class. It was a complete need for them and one of the better defensive players in this class. I love Mansour Delane as a prospect. I think he's a very good cover corner. I think he can slot right into the cornerback 1 slot in Kansas City with Steve Spagnuolo over there. He's going to do tremendous things. Good blitzer, great cover guy, good with the ball up in the air. I think Mansour Delane does not get penalized. So I think Delane's going to be a hell of a player over there in Kansas City. And he's going to an organization that while drafting 6th is going to bounce right back to playoff contention, especially with Patrick Mahomes and the guys back over there. Sonny Styles going number 7 to Washington. That one hurt a little bit, but as we've said over the last couple of weeks, Sonny Styles is a tremendous freak athlete who is not a polished linebacker just yet. There are some things to be aware of or to be wary of with Sonny Styles as a prospect. I think he is a great sideline to sideline player, a tackler, menace at the line of scrimmage. He gives quarterbacks nightmares when he's up at the line of scrimmage. But a lot of the problems with Sonny Styles, which makes him questionable at this pick, and if the Giants would have taken him, I wouldn't have minded it, but the play recognition when you watch Sonny Styles, not being able to recognize run from pass immediately off the bat, it was a big question mark for Styles. But that's something that could be coached. That's something hopefully in the NFL level that he cleans up, because if it does, he is a freak enough athlete to be a really top linebacker in the NFL for years to come. But he's going to have to clean up the play recognition stuff. So Jordan Tyson going number 8 to the Saints. This is where a spot where I had them going edge rusher and taking Reuben Bain Jr. Out of Miami. Shout out to the U. Jordan Tyson, to me, is the best receiver in this class, right? The only reason Jordan Tyson fell is because of the injury history, the collarbone, the ACL, the hamstring injuries. But Jordan Tyson has wide receiver 1 elite level skills where the jump balls belong to Jordan Tyson. Strong hands, great separation at the line of scrimmage. His get off is really, really good. Clean route runner. You've got to love a player like Jordan Tyson going number 8 here to the Saints, which was the first surprise. With the Browns trading back down with Chiefs from 6 to 9, they were able to take Spencer Fano, one of the better offensive line prospects in the class. This was a spot where I thought Francis Mauigoa would go, the Giants pick, just a pick after this. Spencer Fano is a great prospect, right? He does it all. He's going to probably transition from tackle to guard like a few of these guys are. We've been saying for the last few weeks, they're better suited at the guard position than they are tackle. So Spencer Fano out of Utah. Francis Mauigoa to the New York Giants, my top offensive line prospect in this class. Complete mauler, right? Complete mauler. Strong hands. He gets his hands on guys, and they just suddenly don't seem to move. Like you look at a lot of the tape with Francis Mauigoa, this is a kid that does, when he gets held on a block, the guys just don't move. He's great at picking up stunts, and that was at the tackle position. So the quickness that I wouldn't see with Mauigoa on the tackle position, like I said, he's going to kick into right guard for the New York Giants, and I'm hoping he'll be a starter here for the next 7 to 10 years. That's how highly I thought of Mauigoa coming out of the draft. This one hurt a lot. Caleb Downs going to the Dallas Cowboys, who they traded up from 12 to 1. Dallas needed help. Dallas needed help defensively, and they got it here. This is the number 1 player in the class for me. I think Caleb Downs is a tremendous prospect. I think he's a great prospect, the best safety prospect that I've watched over the last 5 years. And I think he's a leader. And I think the only thing that will hold Caleb Downs back is the potential with the medicals on the knee. But I think everything came out clean. I think his combine stuff was extremely done. I think his combine stuff was really, really good when he was at the combine. So none of that should really matter. Downs, to my opinion, was the top player in the class. Caden Proctor was the first one that I actually giggled at a little bit. I didn't have Caden Proctor going until after 20, but I had Monroe Freeling ahead of him. I had a couple of other linemen ahead of him. And I did not see Caden Proctor with this 12th pick from Miami, who they did acquire moving down one spot from Dallas. I had them taking receiver here. But then again, Makai Lemon was probably the best bet to take in this spot. Maybe they just didn't like Makai Lemon that much. The first shocker of the draft was Ty Simpson going to the Rams. Ty Simpson's the kid out of Alabama. He only started 13, 14, 15 games in college, around that number. So there was not a lot of stuff on tape with Ty Simpson, but you saw the tools. He's got the arm. He's athletic. He's good build, 6'1". Maybe want your quarterback to be a little bit taller than that, but Ty Simpson's got the arm strength and he's got the bravado, as you saw in Alabama against some of the top tier talent, top tier defenses. He could play the game. So what you want to see with Ty Simpson is the fact that he's not going to start for the next 2 years, maybe even 3, because they got Matthew Stafford there. You're not going to see Ty Simpson hit the football field for a couple of years, which I guess for him is perfectly fine because he could develop. He could sit behind one of the best to ever do it in Stafford, one of the best coaches to ever do it, one of the best offensive minds in Sean McVay. No reason for Ty Simpson to get thrown into the Wolves right now. But what they did here was build for the future and have something pretty prepared for the 3-4 years down the road. Vega Ioane from Penn State. This was a lot of people's darling of the draft. The best pure guard in the classes was Vega Ioane from Penn State. Huge, 6'4", 320, strong as hell, the strongest offensive lineman in this class, next to Monroe Freeling. This kid's a monster, right? This kid's a monster. You saw him line up at tight end in that famous clip that everybody likes to see. He lined up at tight end, swung around, and then he put a linebacker on his cheeks right on that play. It was pretty funny, but Ioane is a great pick. He sounds like a Baltimore Raven. Ruben Bain Jr. going 15 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think was one of the better value picks in the class. Ruben Bain is not a completely polished edge rusher yet, but if you get the best out of Ruben Bain, high motor, if you get the best out of him, he could easily be a 10-plus sack guy a year. So going 15 here to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think it was good value because I had him as a top 10 pick in the class. In one of the first round picks that the Jets got for Sauce Gardner, they drafted tight end Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. Now, a lot of people mocked him here. I had him mocked here for a couple of weeks because they need help offensively, right? Geno Smith has to throw to somebody. He has to throw to somebody. So you have Garrett Wilson, who a lot of people don't think is a true number one, although he's had 4 out of 5 1,000-yard seasons with really garbage quarterback play. So I think Garrett Wilson is a number one wide receiver if you pair him up with another guy who they got later on in the class, who the Jets traded back in for Omar Cooper Jr. This kid's a tremendous prospect as well. He's got good hands, good route runner, quick. So you look at a guy like him to pair him next to guys like Kenyon Sadiq and Garrett Wilson. You have Omar Cooper Jr. They still have Adonai Mitchell from the Colts last year with that trade. The Jets are starting to build a semblance of an actual offensive roster in the NFL. And it's really cool to see what the Jets are doing. Once next year hits at the quarterback position, you're going to see how they're going to address it. Who knows who will be here for the Jets at that time. But again, quickly on Kenyon Sadiq, freak athlete. You know, he could line up in line and tight end. He could line up in the slot. He could line up on the outside. Sadiq, he's got good hands, great in the red zone, 6'4", 6'3.5", 6'4" measurables, very athletic, good blocker. This is a kid they're going to really like if they utilize him the right way. Blake Miller, offensive tackle out of Clemson. I had him ahead of Caden Proctor as well. So this is a kid that's probably going to he's a huge kid, 6'6", 320. He's probably going to transition to guard as well. You put him at right tackle. I think they're moving over Penei Sewell to left tackle. So that's going to be a good move for them as well. Caleb Banks, this was a pretty shocking one because a lot of people had Caden McDonald as their number one defensive tackle in the class. Caleb Banks went out of Florida, big kid, 6'6", 330. He was 340 at the end of last year, so looks like he dropped like at least 10 pounds. Really, really strong player, but I didn't have him going into the second round because the defensive tackle position is kind of watered down a little bit. Monroe Freeling, this was the kid. Offensive tackle, Georgia, 6'7", 315 pounds. Monroe Freeling at pick number 19. This is where you take a guy like Freeling who's raw and needs the coaching, like we said over the last couple of weeks. If you coach Monroe Freeling correctly, he has the potential to be the best tackle in the class over any of these players in the class. Monroe Freeling is a complete animal, really strong, but just really raw. And this is where you take a guy like this at number 19, and you hope that you develop him the right way. The Eagles traded up to go get Mekhi Lemon, a lot of people's favorite receiver in the class, exciting, electric kid out of the slot. I think he'll be able to play more slot, especially with Brown and Devonta Smith on the outside. Not sure what the AJ Brown situation is with the Eagles. It seems like they're going to trade him, so we'll see what happens with that. But this is a good pick for the Jets. So we just go over a couple of my favorites here. Casey Concepcion going 24 to the Cleveland Browns. There's a world that Casey Concepcion will be better in year one than Jerry Jeudy is right now. And I'm not saying that just to say it, right? Concepcion is a good prospect, catches the football, something that Jerry Jeudy just does not. And you saw the trade rumors over the last couple of years with Jerry Jeudy. I think Shedeur Sanders needs all the help that he could get. And having guys that consistently drop the football as much as a guy like Jerry Jeudy does, I don't think that's going to help him at all. So you have Casey Concepcion here at pick number 24. That's good value. Dylan Thieneman from Oregon, the safety. A lot of people clown this pick from the Bear side of things. I don't mind it so much. It could be the Kevin Byard replacement. Dylan Thieneman's a good prospect. He's a good player. He's very athletic. The 6 foot frame is good for a player like him. Good wing. So good ball skills when the ball's up in the air. I love that pick a lot, especially in these late rounds. You can't really get too crazy with the guys in these late rounds. So I like the Omar Cooper Jr. pick. Peter Woods out of Clemson, another defensive tackle that went ahead of Caden McDonald. So, I mean, the NFL draft was it that exciting? I don't think so. There wasn't many surprises. Maybe in the top 5 picks with Love going 3, but we kind of heard rumblings of that over the first couple of, we heard rumblings of the Jeremiah Love pick going number 3. But, all in all, for my Giants, I would give them an A or an A- for their draft. I see Paulie here gives them an A+. I love what the Giants did. We'll just go over the Giant video real quick. I also have one on my channel if you guys are interested. I have a full breakdown of the Giants draft, all 6 draft picks that they made in my video, Pudgy Boys Sports Talk, Pudgy Boys with a Z. Catch me on Instagram, TikTok, here, on Twitter, on YouTube. Full breakdown of every draft pick on my page if you guys want to go check that video out. The Jack Kelly pick that they took in the 6th round, which was their final pick. Jack Kelly out of BYU is one of my favorite. He was one of my favorite players in the class. 2-time captain at BYU, 4-year starter, 10.5 sacks last year, 15.5 sacks the last 2 years, 23.5 tackles for loss. Hard hitter. Why did Jack Kelly fall to the 6th round? If you say that, Jack Kelly ran the 7th fastest time for any linebacker in the class. He was number 1 in the 20 cone of any linebacker in the class. Why did he fall? And the reasonings you hear for when these guys fall, they don't seem fair, but it's the NFL and this is how it works. And the reasons he fell was he had multiple shoulder injuries to both shoulders over the last few years. So that kind of brings him down a couple of rounds. And then the NFL views him as an undersized linebacker without a really position, kind of a tweener is Jack Kelly. You can't play him full-time on the edge and you can't play him full-time at linebacker because of the undersizedness. But this is a kid that is just going to be a football player for the Giants. So he could bring you stuff off the edge. He's going to contribute a lot on special teams. And what does John Harbaugh emphasize the most for the New York Giants? He emphasizes special teams, special teams, special teams. He did it right away, getting rid of our kicker and our punter immediately the first week that he was here and getting new bodies in here. The Giants also got the undrafted kid out of Michigan, kicking 70-yarders. He went 7 for 7 on 50-plus yard field goals last year. The Giants finally have solved their special teams problem, hopefully, because I've been yelling about that for 2 years now. So the Giants have a lot of good stuff looking forward. Jamison Travis, the defensive tackle out of Auburn that they took in the 6th round as well. He had the second highest run stopping grade of any defensive tackle in the class, only behind Caden McDonald. So if you look at that draft pick, you don't want to just throw it out, right? There is some value there. I didn't have much film on Jamison Travis. I didn't even look him up because I looked at him as an undrafted prospect, but he wound up going in the 6th round to the Giants. J.C. Davis, the offensive tackle out of Illinois, he'll probably kick into the guard position as well. I don't see him having the quickness to play the tackle position in the NFL. Giants have 2 good bookend tackles right now, and they're building a lot of depth and a lot of development on an offensive line that was much maligned for 10 years now. 10 years this offensive line has been maligned. One more point about the Giants. You can now, in any NFL team, you can now sign NFL players. Anybody that's a free agent right now, you can start signing, and compensatory picks are not going to be given out to any teams that lose those players. So 2 guys that are coming in now. I think DJ Reader will be a New York Giant by the end of the week, and I think Odell Beckham Jr. will be a Giant by the end of the week. And you look at OBJ, I know people are a little weary on bringing OBJ back, but you're not bringing back 22-year-old Odell Beckham Jr. You're not looking for that production. You're not going to get that out of him right now. You're getting a veteran. You're getting a guy with a new mindset, a new mentality that wants to come in and help the young guys like Malik Neighbors. Still extremely quick, great hands, great, crisp, clean route runner. There's no lose here in Odell Beckham Jr. because you got him under John Harbaugh. You're not getting him in here under some coordinator, or you're not getting him in here under Brian Dable. You're getting him in here under a guy that he fully respects in John Harbaugh. So there's no losing to signing Odell Beckham Jr. So get that done. Get the DJ Reader signing done. The Giant team will start coming together as the summer goes along. Hopefully everybody stays healthy. Guys, thank you so much for stopping in. If you guys stopped in, if you guys commented, if you guys liked the video, catch me on Pudgy Boys Sports Talk, Pudgy Boys with a Z, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. Every Monday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, we are doing these lives. Probably going to move over to more NBA stuff, maybe even some Mets stuff. Hopefully the Mets can win a game by next week so we can have something to talk about. So, guys, thank you again. I'll catch you guys next week.